Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mount Isa City Council's ordinary meeting. The time is 9 a.m. and I now officially declare the meeting open. Mount Isa City Council acknowledges the Kalkadoon and Indalungi people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and we pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I'd also like to extend that respect to any of Australia's First Nations people who are in attendance today. Please note that the ordinary meeting of Mount Isa City Council may be live streamed and recorded in accordance with the Council's recording of council meetings policy. As a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in chambers, it is assumed that your consent is given if your image is inadvertently broadcast.
Through the chair, just before we go on, I'd just like to ask the room if there's anyone else with personal recording devices recording.
No.
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Father Mick, are you recording?
He's always recording.
How about yourself? Are you recording? No? I didn't hear from everybody.
No, never have, never will.
Neil pension account.
Neil, the question was asked to everyone, I believe.
Yep. I think everyone nodded.
Yeah, I gave an answer.
When it's all right,
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. All right. After that little outburst, we'll hear now from Father Mick for a nice prayer.
Good morning, councillors and workers. I'd like to introduce Sue Wicks. Most of you know Sue. She's been made a warden of the Anglican Church, and today's been the Anglican Church's turn, but Sue asked if I'd come today and do the prayer, and so I'd like to congratulate Sue, first of all, on being made a warden of the church, and from now on she'll probably represent the Anglican Church here at prayers and other official things. Thanks, Sue. So I'd just like to read a little verse from Isaiah chapter 44, verse 3. I'll pour out water on the thirsty soil, streams on the dry ground. I'll pour out my spirit on your descendants, my blessing on your children. They shall grow like grass where there is plenty of water, like poplars by running streams. In the Bible, of course, water becomes a fairly consistent theme, and thirst is part of that theme. Some people like to walk on water, but we know that story of Jesus too. We're saved through the water, and it's where baptism takes its meaning. And so as we think about these past weeks of the blessing of water, but also the destruction of water, let us pray. Let's pause and thank God for the blessing of water on our lands. Thanks for our dams, the security and what we take for granted from them. We pray that we use water wisely in all that we do. Remember those who've lost so much, the Berkshire and especially their Mayor Ernie Camp, who's lost everything in his house. Remember the people now at Baduri and places that are facing the threat of flooding. We pray for those who have been relocated here to Mount Isa for safety and return home and to be able to deal with the tragedy of their loss. We pray too for all who worked in this record flooding and the destruction that it caused. Local, state and federal officials, and the agencies who have offered support. Gathering them in our prayers and knowing that God is with us, we pray as Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father Mick, and good luck, Sue, with the next one. Okay, so we have no apologies, and we have no public participation. That takes us now to item 5, which is the confirmation of the ordinary meeting held on the 22nd of February. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation, please?
I'll move, Madam Mayor, the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 22nd of February 2023 be received, be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. All those in favour? And that's carried. That takes us now to item 6, which is actions from previous council meeting. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
I'll move, Madam Mayor, that council receives and notes the outstanding actions from previous council meetings as at the 17th of March 2023.
Okay, can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Any comments? All right. All those in favour? That's carried. Item 7 is declarations of conflicts of interest. Is there any items in the agenda that councillors have a conflict of interest with?
No.
Of course, if you become aware of one as we go, please speak up.
Through the chair, just number, the one from Old Mica Creek Road, which is 11.6. I just would want it noted that I actually live on that street. So that would be a declarable, Mr CEO, or just noted?
Well, through you, Madam Mayor, you're explaining your circumstances. It's really a matter for you to decide as to whether you've got a declarable interest. Based on what you've said, that's not necessarily the case.
Okay.
If any of your colleagues feel a different way or view that differently, well then it's a matter for them to take forward the issue and deal with this as a declarable conflict of interest, which is pretty straightforward.
No worries. Well, I'm happy to stay in the room. I'm not gaining anything from it, but I'll leave it up to my fellow councillors.
So you're declaring a declarable conflict of interest?
No, not really.
Because if you don't declare anything, we don't have to do anything, but if you do declare something, then we have to put it.
Yeah, I might make it a declarable conflict of interest and I'll get the other councillors to vote, please.
All right. Would someone like to move the motion that they're comfortable with Councillor Coghlan staying in the room for this item?
Moved.
Would someone like to second that motion? All those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you for that. All right, and that takes us now to the Merrell Minute. I just wanted to congratulate Council for 100-year celebrations. When we met last time in our ordinary meeting, we were just getting ready for the next day, which was the big 100 years. The morning tea was amazing. I think everyone who attended had an amazing time. The event at the end of the night was also amazing, and like a lot of people have said, this is probably our best fireworks Manise has ever hosted, so big congratulations to all the staff who worked so hard on that night. I have been asked a few times if Manise City Council has done something for Laura Johnson Home, and we did reach out to the Laura Johnson Home and offer to get a special cake made up and for myself to bring it in. And they declined the offer. But
No, Madam Mayor, that's not correct. We are doing something with the Laura Johnson Home, but at a later date.
no, Manise City Council, not yourself, reached out to Laura Johnson Home, and they said, can we make a special cake up for you guys? And the mayor's happy to drop it off and have a cup of tea. And that offer was declined, and they did say they were going to do something themselves later on in the year. That was from Manise City Council. One of our staff officers talked to the chair of the board. Unless you have had discussions.
Yeah, and I brought this
Not on
up.
behalf of Manise City Council, though.
I did bring it up at a workshop that I had been in touch with the.
That's right, from that workshop we said we'd get Ross to reach out to the Laura Johnson Home to arrange a cake.
No.
Yep.
No, no. It was that we were doing it at a later date when it was
Who
more-
decided that?
we brought it up at the workshop.
That wasn't decided.
No worries.
All right, councillor. I'm just explaining, we've had a few people say, what did you do for the Laura Johnson home? And I'm just, oops, sorry about that. I'm just explaining that we did offer and it was declined. All right, I'll just move on now with, overnight, we lost a local legend to Mount Isa, Peter Smith. Many of you may have met him through various committees. He was a well-known Anzac, and I know that he has touched a lot of lives in Mount Isa. And I was just hoping that we could do a minute's silence for Peter, if you don't mind. Thank you, everyone. That now takes us to, I hope I'm not jumping over here, executive services, which is nil, so that takes us to 11, which is the corporate and community services reports. Deputy Mayor, would you like to read the officer's recommendation for this one?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll move that council receives and accepts the February 2023 Finance Overview Report as presented.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
McRae.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll do it in the note that later in the agenda today we have a budget review in confidential business, so I'll just talk to this with that in mind. So the revenue present time is 12.4 behind budget. We're optimistic that that will take up during the rest of the year. And also I'll note that the expenses are 500,000 ahead of budget due to a number of reasons. So that leaves us about 12 million down at this point in the year. Yeah, and I mentioned the budget review later in the year, so we look forward to that, to bring that back into a reasonable measurement against the actuals. The outstanding rates are at 8 million, which I'll note, you know, that's our lowest level for this year so far. So we seem to be doing some you know, tracking the payments in at that point. Yeah. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments on this?
Yeah, through the chair, the outstanding age rates balances, it's got here 366 days arrears. Is that 366 days plus? So the ones that are like 3 and 2 years in arrears, are they going through the process? Yep. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Chalaya. If there's no other comments or questions, all those in favour? And that's carried. That now takes us to 11.2, which is the Splashes Overview Report for February. Councillor Coghlan, would you like to move the motion?
Yeah, just the recommendation that council receives and accepts the February 2023 Splashes Overview Report as presented.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Would you like to speak on behalf of this?
Yeah, just a question through the chair. Why are there no electricity costs in February, and then there's nothing in the budget, and also rates and charges for actual and budget? Why is that nil? Rightio, okay then. And I'd just like to, I think there's still some swim fit sessions still going that people can go down and join. Shay down there is a great instructor for swimming, so I just would urge anyone, if they want to correct their stroke or anything, that they should just go down there and see Shay. And also it's really good to see that the school Learn to Swim is going full gung-ho. I know we had a bit of there are a few swimming carnivals that had to be cancelled due to the rain and that, but I know the schools are working hard to try and put them on at a later date. But that's all that's going on.
Thank you, councillor. Any other comments? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. That takes us then to the 11.3, which is the Economic and Community Development Overview Report for February 2023. I'll hand you over to Councillor McRae.
I'd like to move that Council receives and accepts the February 2023 Economic and Community Development Overview Report as presented.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded, Fortune.
Thank you. Councillor McRae, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Yes, I would like to say a few words. I'd just like to reiterate what the Mayor has said about what a great day the 100-year celebration was, and thank you to the staff and councillors that pitched in and worked that night. It was great to see the community out there enjoying themselves, and I think a lot of feedback I got is, why can't we do this more often? I'm not sure if people understand how much the event actually cost, but it was a great event, and in saying that, I'd like to thank Glencore for their sponsorship.
Yep.
Having them come on as sponsors enabled us to host the rides and also have that day the next day with the water slides, which was really popular. Next 100-year event is going to be the dinner on the 6th of May. Tickets have gone on sale already at $150 a ticket. There's going to be a top secret act announced shortly, so I'd encourage people to get on and grab those tickets, because I think they'll sell really quickly. It's that top secret. I'm not sure who it is. I saw a list. There were a lot of good names there, so whoever is picked will be very popular. Underground tours went very well on the day, and since then, having the new crib port lunch underground has proven very popular, and booking agencies have been booking that tour heavily, as well as the Bush Tucker tours and the Bush Tucker cooking class that's now taking place at Outback at Isa. So thanks to those staff for developing that product. We often talk about what we need in Mount Isa is more tourism products, so it's great that that new manager Martin has taken that initiative and implemented that. CUC negotiations are still ongoing. Hopefully we'll be able to wrap that up shortly so we can make a start. And great numbers are coming through the Family Fun Park. And that's me, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Any other comments on this one? The main comment I'm getting is where can we buy these cups and cards and coins? So I think that could be a conversation we have later about whether we try and make these available, because I notice a cup and a packet of cards are on eBay at the moment.
Okay, so the cup and the packet of cards, I think they're part of the Cribport lunch. So if you go on that underground tour with the special Cribport lunch, that's the booty that you get, part of the encouragement. But I have been telling people that did miss out on the merchandise from that 100-year, all of council events coming forward will have that same sort of merchandise, so just make sure they support the events, go along, look out for the council tent to see what merch they can grab.
Thank you. All right, any other comments?
Madam Mayor, can I just note, just while we're on the economic development portfolio here, that I'll be speaking to the Senate on Friday in regards to the Iron Boomerang project, and that's in my role as chair of the Australian Mining Cities Alliance. So I've asked our economic development officer to provide some information, and all of the councillors as well. So it's a very visionary project for Australia, to run a railway line from the Pilbara across to the Bowen Basin and connect coal and iron ore together. And so along there to build a range of blast furnaces as well, so they can make steel in Australia once again. So that's the sort of elevator capture of the project. There's a lot in it. But I will be representing AMCA, but I'll also be trying to, lift up the city's profile in regards to that, and what benefits it would bring to this region if we were able to develop a whole range of, infrastructure and possibly even blast furnaces and that into the future. Very visionary, but so they're asking for people to contribute to it. So just want to let council know I'll be doing that on Friday.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. All right, there's nothing further. All those in favour? And that's carried. The next item is 11.4, which is the surrender of sublease of Mount Isa Softball Association. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Yes, I'd like to move a motion that the Mount Isa City Council advertise the lease area described on lot 73 as lot 73 MP 36738 for tender to not-for-profit organisations over a period of 2 weeks from the 27th of March 23 to the 9th of April 2023.
Okay, so just so we note, that wasn't the officer's recommendation. This is Councillor Coughlin's recommendation.
That's correct.
Do we have a seconder for that?
McRae.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Councillor Coughlin, would you like to speak on behalf of the URET?
Yeah, I just think it wasn't, I think we just need to give local sporting groups and other organisations just the chance to, one last chance to see if anyone out there would be able to take over this lease rather than hand it back to council. It's only for a period of 2 weeks. If no one puts in for it in that 2 weeks, I think we've done enough for the community for them to be able to grab it, and we can reassess after that.
Is 2 weeks long enough? Because I know the word is so hard to get out there at the moment.
Well, we're live streaming at the moment, and if we do a push on publicity, quite happy to go on radio and talk about it to get it out there. And I think if all councillors know, with the contacts they have in town, they might be able to get hold of a few groups to see if they are interested. If no one is interested, just go, we bring it back to council again.
Through
Sounds
the
good.
chair, they may need to organise a meeting within their own committee to get sorted, I guess. So maybe we might just need to allow a little bit of time for that. Do you think we could extend it potentially to 4 weeks?
No, I don't. I think 2 weeks is quite enough. It has been already advertised once through council, and I think if we give it a big enough push, this matter needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with quickly. Otherwise, the Oval's just going to go into more disrepair.
But I think you said at the last workshop that you had friends who didn't know it was up. So I don't think it did get around as much as you may have thought, And Councillor McRae is quite right in the fact that, it's not always easy to get a committee together to make some decisions.
I think committees are already together, and if they want to look at it, they'll look at it quickly and efficiently. If they know there's a time limit on it, council always leaves things open-ended on putting a time limit on it so that groups get together, organise themselves and say yes or no.
I think through the chair, we're not going to have another opportunity to vote on any other recommendation till the next meeting, which is in the 26th of April anyway. So that's probably gives everyone 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And if this recommendation doesn't get up, or does get up, this other recommendation that's on the notes now will be just recycled, I guess. But in either case, they'll have 4 weeks.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. All right, if there's no more comments, all those in favour? And that's carried. And I'll just reiterate that if anyone's interested in the old softball club area, which is what is it called now?
Alexandra Park.
Alexandra Park, please contact council and we can give you further information. Okay, that brings us to 11.5, which is the proposed tenure of vacant lease area B SP 248022 in Lot 8 RD 138 Mount Isa Camp Draft Association Inc. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Through the chair, I'd like to move that council resolves to offer trustee lease over the reserved land described as lease area B SP 248022 on Lot 8 RD 138 premises to Mount Isa Camp Draft Association Incorporated with the term to coincide with their current lease over lease area D SP 248022 on Lot 8 RD 138. 2. That it is satisfied that the disposal of the premises by way of trustee lease may proceed after other than by tender or auction, because an exception applies to authorise that disposal under section 236 1B2 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 in Queensland. In the disposal is to a community organisation. And 3, to delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the authority to finalise all matters in relation to negotiating and entering into a trustee lease of the premises on behalf of Council with Mount Isa Camp Draft Association Incorporated.
Can I get a second for that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you. Councillor Fortune, would you like to speak on behalf of that?
Just part of the overview, Madam Mayor, is that the Mount Isa Camp Draft Association Incorporated has requested tenure over the vacant lease area described as lease B. The association has an existing tenure over lease D, and the current expression of interest of the lease area, there's no other current expressions of interest, and to line it up with their current lease would be advantageous both to the group and to council.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Nothing.
All right. All those in favour? And that's carried. So this takes us now to 11.7, which is the Queensland Housing Strategy for 2021-2025.
Number?
Local. Oh, did I miss one? Sorry.
No. 11.6.
Sorry, I jumped that one. Thank you. Sorry, 11.6, which is the application to purchase unallocated state land described as Lot 2 on Survey Plan 246463. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Through the chair, I'll move the recommendation that council advise the Department of Resources of the following council views, comments and requirements for the sale and freeholding of land described as Lot 2 on Survey Plan 246463. 1, the state must advise the potential buyers that the lot is listed on the Environmental Management Register, EMR, in full disclosure as per the requirements of the Environmental Protection Act 1994. And 2, a disclosure must be made to potential buyers that future land use will be restricted to non-sensitive uses unless the lot is removed from the Environmental Management Register. And 3, prior to the freeholding purchase and environmental cleanup of accumulated waste on the lot must be undertaken to remove the risk of environmental harm being transferred to council. And 4, the applicant must obtain all necessary planning and building approvals prior to any building or operational works occurring on the premises.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Second.
Councillor Fortune, would you like to speak on behalf of this?
Yes, Madam Mayor. The Department of Resources has put a request through to council for views and requirements in relation to the application to purchase the unallocated state land, and it's on Old Mica Creek Road, adjoining 32 Old Mica Creek Road.
Thank you. Any other comments on this? Okay, all those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, now we get to 11.7, which is the Queensland Housing Strategy for 21-25, Local Housing Action Plan for Mount Isa, Final Draft Version 5. Now there was a change mentioned at the workshop that's actually not in here, so if you are happy for me to remove the recommendation that council adopts the Queensland Housing Strategy 2021 to 2025 of the Local Government Action Plan, final version 5, for Mount Isa, and delete reference to 300 social housing, that's it, dwellings. At pages 129 to 131. Someone like to second that motion?
Second.
Thank you, councillor Tully. So I guess because I moved it, I'll talk to it. I think this is really important for Mount Isa, that we have a plan going forward on housing. It is singly the biggest thing talked about, not just in Mount Isa, but across Queensland and Australia. I believe that we've gone strong for 100 years, and we're going to be here for another 100 years. So it's important that we have a plan. I've talked to the state government, and I said it's important they have a 10, 20, 40-year plan for Mount Isa on where they see their housing. And I've also said the same thing to Glencore. That's important that they think about where they see their housing in 20 to 40 years' time. So I think this is a great first step. There are a few things that we've acknowledged in this. For instance, social housing. We're double most cities, and in fact we're 30 times more than something like the Gold Coast. And when you put in the perspective that we haven't got the services that some of the people who go into social housing need, those wraparound supports, it is something that is having a negative impact on the city. So this is an important first step, and I'm really glad we're putting this forward. Would someone else like to speak on this one?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something. So pages 129 to 31, the whole lot aren't being taken out. It's just a reference to the 300 social houses.
Just that.
Just that, okay.
Just a reference to 300 social houses.
Through the chair, how do we go about voting for that if we want to retain the social housing in there?
Well, we could do a split.
Madam Mayor, what you can do is propose an amendment to the motion. That's the way to do it. Specifically, if you like.
Yep.
So in the report, page 129 of the agenda, paragraph that says future private and community stock needs, and the third dot point is 300 dwellings for social housing. So the question is there any purpose served by prophesying or forecasting? Good argument that we don't need to. The real issue for the city, as the Mayor has said, if you go to page 131 of the social housing supply, specific reference there, a sentence which says, Council estimates there is a need for social housing dwellings. All that's being proposed is that sentence go out and the sentence on one page. The real issue, if you accept what the Mayor is saying, is the next paragraph on page 131 of the agenda, which is to increase social housing around the city without addressing the aged and poor standards of existing stock will only impact on the livability. Consideration needs to be given to the level of services. That's the key.
Okay.
If
Yes,
that
yeah,
wasn't
I will
important,
support that motion, yeah.
Yeah, and look, I think it's going forward, those recommendations can be made on more of a workshop. This has just been put together by a council officer, so, yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, I do believe we will need more social housing. We can't predict how much we'll need, but we also need to advocate for the services, to go with that. So if that's what we're voting on,
Yeah.
I'm happy to support that.
Look, and the hard part is, look, housing are bringing people in from the Leichhardt River into housing, and that sort of needs to be addressed as well. I believe that, people who are camped up in the Leichhardt River may need to go to rehab or another centre first before they're actually put into housing, and it's setting them up to fail in a lot of times because they're not house ready. So there's those discussions that need to happen. Not saying that's the answer, but I'm just saying there's a lot of discussions that need to happen. A lot of the housing that we're building is not for Mount Isa people, the social housing, so we're probably anywhere from 300 to 500 over the social housing requirement that any other city has. So we're well over, we've got nearly 800 social houses. So when you think about how many people are paying rates here, that's almost 1/5 of the population, you know, so it's, and if you look at the population decline, we've got less housing that's available. So these are all things that are going to be a good discussion later on.
Yeah, I think when the Deputy Mayor and I return from welcoming Cities Conference, that we'll probably be able to give some more perspective on that.
Yeah, and look, affordable social housing, and this is, let me put some perspective on what I've just said, is there needs to be diversity with the social housing. So what's happening now is if you're in crisis, trauma, DV, that you're prioritised in social housing. So that there really does need to be diversity, and you know, we haven't got the wraparound supports for a lot of people who are coming in trauma, need special support. So, you know, that some of that stock does need to be prioritised to people who are low-income earners that just need that first start in, you know, getting a home and getting ahead. You know, there's no doubt about that.
But I guess that in itself might show a need for more housing as well. So we probably just need to keep that open.
Yeah, look, I think these are all part of the discussions, but at the moment, it's the way the current system's working, we're bringing in people in crisis, trauma, DV, and we're already 8 times the state average for DV. So there's got to be a point where we people are offered homes where they can get the services, which is not available in Mount Isa at the moment, unfortunately.
Through the chair, my understanding is that they're allocated a certain number of houses to Mount Isa. Anyway, was there 100 or something? 98 houses.
It was supposed to be for the whole of Western Queensland, and in the actual allocation, you know, I was very vocal when I went to the WAC that our neighbours aren't getting social housing. You know, it's just Mount Isa, and yet, you know, if you put your name on the list in Burketown, there's no houses. So a lot of times they don't put the name on the list because there's no social housing. So you just wonder why our neighbours aren't getting the social housing, and yet we're getting them.
Yeah, I think where I'm going is just that I think housing largely will determine what they need anyway. It's probably not up to us to estimate to housing what they need, but it'll be based on their demands and what they view as necessary. Yeah, I understand the objections to it. I do understand. Yeah. And we don't want to create, you know.
But I think, like, the services aren't there. You know, you're part of the Northwest Remote Health. Just to get an OT appointment, I'm 16 months in. I'm 16 months in for a speech therapy appointment. So if you're bringing in people who've got disabilities, or they've got FASD or things like that, there's no services, and the waiting lists are ridiculous. And with early intervention being key, we need to put people where they can get all the services they need. And at the moment, Mount Isa, you're waiting a month for a GP appointment. Good luck seeing a specialist in Mount Isa. The chances are it's going to be telehealth, or you're going to be flown to Townsville. So we're really lacking in services, and all the groups that have been set up and given funding, they can't get the workforce. So everyone's been set up to fail at the moment. So it shouldn't be someone sitting in Brisbane telling us what our housing strategy looks like, and whether it's social or anywhere else. It should be the local government with the community looking at what our needs are, and well planned going forward.
Yeah, my guess is that they understand what the demands are, and hopefully they connect with council about, you know, what that might look like going forward.
I think the demand's there. I think Townsville's got 2,000 on their waiting list. I think we've got 400 on our waiting list for social housing, but a lot of them aren't from Mount Isa. So, and a lot of the Mount Isa people are saying we've got no chance of getting on the social housing list. So it's a good conversation to have. It's really good that we engage with people who are sitting in Brisbane making decisions, because they don't live here, and what might seem an easy fix for them can sometimes impact on us, you know.
I'll just commend the officer too for pulling this report together. It's quite comprehensive, I thought, and it was a good read.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Ross did a great job. All right, let's vote. All those in favour? Oh, do we have a seconder? Oh.
McRae.
All right, thanks, Councillor McRae. I don't know how we got to that discussion without a seconder, but sorry about that.
I had the question about the motion with the amendment, that's all.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, If there's no more comments, all those in favour? Councillor, you no?
Sorry.
So that takes us now to 11.8, which is the Environmental and Biosecurity Overview Report for January and February 2023. I'll hand you over to Councillor Stratton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Recommendation there is Council receives and accepts the January 2023 and February 2023 Environmental and Biosecurity Overview Report as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Councillor Stratton, would you like to speak on behalf of that
Yeah,
motion?
just a bit of an overview there. Environmental services and biosecurity processed a total of 133 service requests, searches, inquiries and complaints between January and February. Environmental services commenced food inspections of the Mount Isa food premises from January 23 and are still conducting routine inspections of food businesses. 76 businesses have been inspected, with 6 remaining. Each business has been issued a post-inspection compliance report outlining areas for improvement or correction where relevant. Environmental services investigated the flying foxes, which have been identified as little reds, plotted around Sunset Tourist Park and along Stinky Creek, crossing on Mile Street. Flying fox camps have relocated from Mount Isa and onto their next destination. That's good. Good those little fellas have sort of moved on. It'll save us a headache down the road.
Well done.
Let's be good when all them trees grow, they can go there.
Any other comments on this?
I just had a question, Madam Mayor. The water sampling that gets done in the Georgina, what is it, just in my own interest, what's that for? Surface water sampling. Oh, okay. Oh, it had a specific purpose, yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember that incident now, yeah. Thank you, Stephen.
Through the chair, to the CEO, the Free Plants Day comes up in May every year in Mount Isa, and I know it's always well supported, but do you think we could just be a little bit more proactive and get out about it now and every month so that people can start putting their names down for them? If that's,
Yes, easy.
Yep.
Easy, yeah.
yeah, I just think it should be a couple of posts and not just one.
Yeah.
We should keep
Yeah,
following it up.
Yeah. So there's no risk that we will have stock about to distribute? Is that what he's alluding? Yeah, so there's no risk that we won't get that stock in? Okay, so subject to that,
Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
More than once, absolutely.
Okay. And can I also ask, through the chair, to the CEO, or someone that can answer me, the community tree planting project. I believe it's stalled a little bit at the moment, and I just want to know, did we offer any of those trees to our sporting groups? They've stopped being put in parks.
Was that the 10,000 tree project? Yeah, I was wondering where that was up to myself.
Too late, no.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Rightio.
I got one further question through the chair. Just the energy efficiency strategy. We're looking for the next project milestone, stage 3. Where's that at?
Gee, Madam Mayor, there's a report that has been done that'll they'll come through to the council as part of the draft budget process, so you'll have visibility of what is proposed.
Yeah, I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to that, so
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah.
That's really, that'll be next month.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? All right, all those in favour? Carried. That takes us to 11.9, which is the local laws overview report for January and February 2023. Councillor Stratton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through the chair. Recommendation there is council receives and accepts January 2023 and February 2023 local laws overview report.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded, Fortune.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. Councillor Stratton, would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I just like to highlight the fact of, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that tick-borne disease. People need to be aware of, start treating their dogs with, for tick control in Mount Isa, as that disease sort of stretches out. What it does, it hampers our effect to rehome these dogs in other parts of Australia with them dogs having that disease. And it will make your little furry friend very sick if he gets it as well, and most probably cost you a hefty vet bill. So it's good to get on the front foot and get your dogs up to date with tick control.
And I think that's advertised on television as well,
Yeah.
about ehrlichiosis.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Any other comments?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I noticed the noxious weeds are become quite prevalent with the rain and all that, especially rubber vine has become present and seems to be flourishing, and also coral cactuses. So, and I've put in a couple of cases to the administration about dealing with some of those. But yeah, I understand there's more of it around than probably what we realise. So, just ask if if the Environment Department are really having a good look at that.
Provide an acquittal of where we're at and what we perceive the scope of the work to be via email.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, all those in favour? That's carried. And that brings us to item 12, which is the infrastructure services reports, and 12.1, and I'll hand over to Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The recommendation is that council receive and accepts the January 2023 and February 2023 waste management overview report as presented.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second, Stratton.
Thank you. Councillor Tully, would you like to speak on behalf of this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The waste management facilities, January and February, are unfortunately punctuated by machinery breakdowns, wet weather, the domestic garbage collection with JJ Richards. I see that their scope has blown out a bit, so we've got more bins than we actually realised we had. So that's become a bit of an issue. But other than that, yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one? No? All right, all those in favour?
Oh, through the chair, with the waste management overview report, how far have we got with, I think Councillor Stratton and myself have both asked for it, about the amnesty weekends for people to be able to drop rubbish off? I'm just wondering how far we're going on, how far we've got along with that.
Thanks, Chilea.
Just another question on the, I'm not too sure if I'm reading it wrong, but we were expecting a March updated this meeting for the MER. Not on the agenda.
What we, going back over past advices, we committed to providing briefings to the workshops and/or briefings. So there was no, there's never to be a report to this particular meeting. We going back to December last year, we were talking about providing a final report in February and a decision in February or March. My view was that was always too early. You've got a briefing which was, with all due respect to us, difficult to digest. So we are now working on finalising the report and providing you with a briefing, obviously workshop, briefing, decision in April. So we're on the cusp of that now being presented for a decision.
Any other comments?
Madam Mayor, I was just thinking about the date of the meeting, and I know we've had a reference earlier to the date being the 26th. Did we formally change that meeting? There's a couple of councillors, myself and Councillor McKay, away for the 26th.
What meeting is this?
The April meeting?
What are we on?
The next ordinary you're talking about, Councillor?
Yeah.
Wright? Yep.
Through Madam Mayor, well, certainly we can adjust it if that's the view. I thought we had made some adjustments to budget meetings and dates because of, once we became aware of your absence in April, so.
Yeah, look, I thought as well that we said, let's move that date because the Tuesday is public holiday.
The scheduled meeting.
And that we were sort of saying people might want to take Monday off, as in council workers, and have a long weekend with the Tuesday being a public holiday. And then it's a hard slog then to try and put together a council meeting coming back on the Wednesday after a public holiday. So I think we did talk about it, but what...
Madam Mayor, I'll just get the schedule and we'll just check that. We can certainly deal with it by the end of the meeting, but my recollection is that we've actually dealt with that issue. So the reference to the 26th may not be correct.
Yeah, I had thought we had changed it, but
Yeah,
it wasn't.
I think we have. I'll just get
Yeah.
I'll just confirm that by the meeting.
I thought it was discussed, but there was no outcome from the discussion we had.
Maybe,
Yeah.
okay.
Because some were in agreement and some weren't, because I know I wasn't in agreement with changing it.
Anyway, we'll have an answer by the end of the meeting.
I'd rather make it easier for councillors to attend a meeting myself.
Through the chair, it's not like we can zoom in for it,
Yeah.
because we will be in a different conference.
Yeah. We can have a chat at the end, if you like. Or
Well, we need to move something this meeting so that
Yeah.
it's in force for, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll just make sure we do it by the end of the meeting if we have.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
We certainly juggle budget meetings,
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
so we've done that, but not, I'll have to double check the ordinary meetings.
Thank you.
Okay. And, all right, well, we can have a chat about that. All right, so getting back to the original motion, if there's no more comments, all those in favour? And that's carried.
Moving into close now, once you get there.
Were they,
Days tomorrow.
okay, so we've got nil for general business. Oh. And then that takes us now to item 14, which is the consideration of confidential business items. Would you, can I please adjourn the, do I need to put a motion forward? I'm just trying to remember. Need to- Okay. All right. And do I have to move the J54254? Is that bringing out? All right. All right, councillors. Would someone like to move a motion that we adjourn for 10 minutes and then reopen in confidential?
So moved.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
McRae.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. carried, and the time is 9:55 a.m. and I adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes. The time is 10:11 a.m. and I now declare the meeting resumed. Dale, can you move the motion to go into closed business for us, please?
So through Madam Mayor, I'll just recite this verbally, so bear with me if you could, councillors. As per the Local Government Act, Local Government Regulation 254J, Council resolves to consider the following items in confidential session, and they are 14.1, organisational capability, 14.2, budget review, I'm paraphrasing, 14.3, audit and risk committee minutes, 14.4, land transfer 9 Barclay Highway, 14.5, request to waive outstanding sundry debtor invoice. That should be it.
Yep. And can I get someone, sorry, can I get someone to move that motion? Thank you, councillor Tully. And can I get someone to second that motion?
Seconded.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. All those in favour? And that's carried. It's 10:12 a.m. and we're now in closed business. Would someone like to move the motion that council moves out of moves out of closed business and opens in open business, please?
So moved.
Thank you. And a seconder for that motion?
Second, Barwick.
Thank you. All those in favour? And that's carried. So it is 10:54 a.m. and we're back in open business. Item 14, which is consideration of confidential business items. 14.1, which is the organisational capability. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Yeah, I'll move, Madam Mayor, as soon as I can find it. I'll remove that council endorses the following: the revised organisational structure as depicted in attachment B, and 2, the appointment of specific advisors in key areas of organisational responsibility subject to appropriate financial and performance controls.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded, Fortune.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. All those in favour? And that's carried. Next one is 14.2, which is the budget review as of 28th of February 2023. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation, please?
Yeah, I'll move again, Madam Mayor. Thanks. That council adopts the revised 22-23 budget as presented in the February budget review.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you, councillor Stratton. All those in favour? And that's carried. 14.3, minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 21st of February 2023. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
I'll move again, Madam Mayor. The council receives and accepts the unconfirmed Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes dated 21st of February 2023 as presented.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, councillor Tully. All those in favour? And that's carried. Item 14.4, which is the land transfer 9 Buckley Highway, land described as Lot 2 on MPH 22001. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Through the chair, I'll move that council resolves 1, to accept the transfer of land described as Lot 2 on MPH 22001 from Mount Isa Mines Limited to Mount Isa City Council, and 2, to delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the authority to finalise all matters in relation to negotiating the final terms of the transfer.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, councillor Tully. All those in favour? And that's carried. 14.5, which is the request to waiver outstanding balance of sundry debtor invoice 2914713. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation? Due to no one moving the officer's recommendation, this motion will lie. Yeah. Lapses.
I'm quite happy to move it.
Okay.
I'd like to move the second one.
All right. So you're happy to move that?
I'd like to move, yeah, I'll move it, yes,
Do you want to read out the motion?
to get it on the board.
Okay. Yep.
There's-
Yes, please. Sir.
Okay, I'd like to recommend that council approves to waiver the outstanding balance of $20,777.74 on invoice 2914713, issued on the 18th of the 11th, 2022, for animal impoundment fees, fines and penalties under section 7.3 of council's sundry debt recovery policy due to financial hardship.
Can I get a seconder for that motion? So, sorry, councillor Tully, I thought you said you were going to
He's going to read out the...
the next one. Oh, sorry. That's why I was looking at you because I thought,
So
what
through
are you
the
saying?
chair, Mr CEO, there's recommendation options there, and it appears that one of the options has lapsed, so that's got to be detailed, and then the other option presented, is that correct?
The only thing that has legal standing is really the motion.
Well, I can,
So the motion will appear, the report is a matter of public record now.
Mm-hmm.
And that bits of it that that can be open to the public should be in time. So what appears in the minutes is what has been moved by councillor Coghlan. At the moment, if there's no seconder to it, the motion will lapse for want of a seconder. That's it.
Well, I can withdraw that and put another motion forward.
You can do it with the agreement of the body of council.
Would you agree that I can withdraw that?
Aye.
Yep.
And
Yes.
I'd like to put forward another motion
Sure.
that council does not approve to waiver the outstanding balance of $20,777.74 on invoice 2914713 issued on the 18th of 11th, 2022 for animal impoundment fees, fines and penalties under section 7.3 of council sundry debt recovery policy due to financial hardship.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, councillor Tully. Councillor, this is confidential, isn't it? All right, all those in favour?
This is all open.
Yep, it's all open. And that's carried. Now, that takes us to the supplementary agenda item. If you want to...
Sorry, through the chair, I didn't see an indication from yourself, Mayor, on that last vote. I didn't see a show of hands from yourself.
Yep, hang on, sorry, I'm just getting the supplementary agenda up. Yeah, I'm happy to vote for it, but if I've missed the vote, either or.
Thank you.
Um, 14.6, which is the concession to waiver and write-off rates and charges for a property assessment 0698139030000.
I'll move, Madam Mayor, that council approves a concession to waiver and write-off rates and charges, excluding state fire services levy for property assessment 06981-39030-000 for the 2022/2023 and 2023/2024 financial period under sections 119, 121B, I, C, D, 121A and 122A of the Local Government Regulation 2012, as the imposition of rate charges will cause financial hardship on the property owner as long as the club is currently active and registered as a non-profit sport club.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded.
Cray?
Ladies first.
And all those in favour? And that's carried. Before we finish, we have a motion to put forward for a possible change of council meeting. So would someone like to put forward the motion that the council meeting on the 26th of April 2023 be moved to Wednesday the 19th of April 2023? Can I get someone to move that motion?
So moved.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded, Fortune.
And all those in favour? And that's carried. And that brings us to the end of our ordinary meeting. The time is now 11:03